Finance Search Committee. On Friday, we will be finishing those up and selecting the finalists. That's the end of my report. We'll now move on to student body president. Any questions or comments? We'll now move on to student body president, Maureen Castle.
Well, so we had a BPD committee where we discussed questions and we asked for candidates selecting pursue preliminary rounds. Data had as well, and some discussion about guard bus. Mr. English reached out to me again about consensus. We can discuss a little bit more of what it is and if there's student interest in it. So yes, we have more stuff to discuss in general discussion. Any questions? Yes.
Are they still continuing ACC DEI after the BP gets hired?
Yeah, I'm under that impression initially. It's just they're, I don't know if they'll edit their process.
Great, thank you.
We'll now move on to senior class president, Elliot Meyer.
We have budget requests in old business, and then the last admitted students day is on Friday that I'm going to speak at. So,
Questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll now move on to junior class president, Tatum Flavor.
Hello. So I decided, well, I talked to exec about this. I didn't really talk to my told them. Obviously, you know, we must be going to the end of the pandemic because, you know, mass shootings are back. Congratulations, Americans. So I wanted to take this moment to have a moment of silence for the older victims and for the victims of the Atlanta shootings. Because they deserve to have their lives remembered, and we did this for the Black Lives Matter protest and for Black Lives Lost, and they're serving for national justice for the Asian Lives Lost. So we're just going to have a quick moment of silence to remember their lives. Links to some fundraisers and some petitions in the minutes that I found on Twitter, and then as well as the names of all the victims, because I just didn't want to be disrespectful and pronounce like wrongly pronounced. That's my report.
Thank you, Tatum. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will now move on to sophomore class president, Frank Cruz, who I believe is in the chat. Go ahead and unmute, Frank.
So far, we've been communicating with every organization for Students Activities Day. Will and I already sent out an email. And, oh, sorry, what?
Hang on just a second, Frank. Okay, hang on. Now try it.
Hello?
Yep, you're good.
All right. So far, Will and I have been we already contacted the organizations and sent out an email about Student Activities Day. So far, we're still planning out the works of how we're going to have it set up and what we're going to have on there, and possibly even have some food trucks, but we're still unsure about it, and more information would come out soon to everybody else.
All right, any questions or comments for Frank? Seeing none, we'll now move on to first class president, Will Kay. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so going right off what Frank said, Student Activities Day, we're talking
for some possible food trucks, talking to some different people to see if that would work. We notified the clubs, and then I'm talking to Greek Life to make sure they're aware and if anything they need. And then we're still finalizing the specific times of the events for the day, but we're hoping to get that finalized this week to next week, and then I'll let you guys know as soon as we go.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we will now move on to other reports. Go ahead, Bert.
Hello, everyone. So I was able to attend the CAPE meeting this Monday, and it was pretty long meeting, like an hour and a half. But we talked a little bit about the DPDEI process, and they just encouraged, like, for me to relate back to the students to utilize their voices and that they are doing the best for our voices to be heard. And so as a white passing POC, I just advocated for the need of a POC to be selected to this position. Hold on, I have my notes for the rest of the meeting. Give me 1 second. And then we also talked about faculty training, and they're looking at text that they want to be implemented in. So they are assigning like faculty and staff to be reading these books that will talk about like educating and implementing DEIJ, so diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, into literature and curriculum, and how to deal with these literatures will teach the faculty how to deal with microaggressions in and out of the classroom setting, because they currently don't have training on that. And then they are planning on implementing a foundations course next year that faculty will have these books to read themselves and educate themselves. And then every 7 years, we were told that all programs go through a review process. And right now, like, they're going through the review process of all the programs, and they're making recommendations. And for these, they also want to add DEIJ into all programs. And we got to look at like the language, and we were struggling a little bit to see where, if you wanted to add it as like its complete own section or add it as subsections to other parts of the language within each program. So that is also a work in progress. Oh, yes. Okay, go ahead. Ask it. So Strauss's question is Sal Myers material going to be used for the faculty? That was not discussed at the meeting, but I shall ask at the next one. That's my report.
All right, thank you. We'll now move to junior class president, Tatum Flicker.
Oh, okay. So Jorge told y'all that the VP DEI search met. That's pretty much all that we can say. I think I got an email from Mara today about another meeting that we're gonna be having soon. Applications are still rolling in. It's phenomenal group of applicants. Yeah. If you hear anything about what's been said in those meetings, please let Jorge or I know. Because y'all should know absolutely nothing about what's happening in those meetings. And if you know something, please let us know. Because that means unbroken confidentiality, which is not good. Because that contract is very long. And then the second thing I had in here was right, which was right underneath it, HCDEI. I'm going to talk more about it in the reports because it's in general discussion, because we're going to discuss about it. But basically, exec met, and Elliot brought up how students are feeling with the letter that was sent out regarding masks in the spring, how that letter was very backhanded, kind of rude, very disrespectful. And so me being on AC, I love it when I'm doing this. Great. So basically, I went and I talked to ACDEI, and at that specific meeting, it was the executive committee meeting, which basically means a bunch of different like representatives of the different departments were at the meeting, and I basically just kind of like asked them like their opinion as faculty and staff about the letter. From what I gathered, the faculty and staff are on the same page as students. They thought the letter was absolutely absurd. They thought it was absolutely rude. They were, one person said something that really, like, it stuck with me. But was it the college is treating us like we're not actually adults? They've been like, that email is very backhanded. And then, you know, they just sent us an email the other day, which was perfect. That spring email was perfect. Granted, we haven't had an active case in almost a week and a half, so it's still kind of an backhanded email because, like, obviously we don't want to do. But yes, I met with ACD guy, and they were in agreement with what the exec was feeling like, but we're just gonna hear guys' thoughts as to what we were thinking about the next steps, but I'm not sure what those next steps are yet, because I think we wanted to do that during the discussion. But that was all.
I was just gonna add, that there will be steering committees once the final list, so then that's. We'll get to interview. Whether it be DI committee, help you guys ask questions. Sorry, don't want to hear from you, but there'll be specific times for the finalist. So.
Right, we'll now move on to junior class senator, Visconsi. Go ahead.
So, last year in like February, I was put in EPCC. It's only a year-long position and I'm taking 19 credit hours, so I would love for somebody else to now do that position since my year is up. It's a really fun committee if anyone wants to do it. We do curriculum changes, so we do a lot with the foundations that's being changed next year, and then the larger curriculum that's gonna be put in the year after that. It's interesting stuff, and you get to learn a lot about how the college works. Now I know what independent study stuff you need, and that's why I'm taking 2 of them. So if you want knowledge, you should do it. I just can no longer do it, so I would love for somebody else to.
We can go ahead and make nominations. If there are any, we can vote in general discussion. So thank you, Visconsi. Go ahead, Elliot, food committee report.
So food committee finally met on March 22nd, so 2 days ago. And we talked about some food stuff. It was a really volatile time, and that was then probably like 3 years. So yeah, 3 years. Felt like it feels like. So firstly, the beach bash event really successful, Julia said. Julia is the general manager of Sodexo here at Simpson, who runs the meeting. Some people stole some inflatable palm trees, so if you happen to know the whereabouts of those palm trees, you should let someone at the college know. Also, they're going to be doing some chips and dip at Tyler's and Sub Connection on Tuesday, which was yesterday. So a little late, but still thought I should bring it up in the meeting. Unfortunately, they're struggling to get people to Pfeiffer this semester, specifically during the lunchtime. They theorize this can be because people aren't able to sit with each other, which is obviously pretty true. But it's just something to be in consideration of. So if anybody has any ideas, please add that at the end when we ask questions. That'd be great. Moving forward, the Light app has been expanded and being utilized pretty effectively. If you've been using that, if you haven't, I would suggest trying using that, as it's been accurate finally. And I've been at Simpson for 4 years and it hasn't been accurate. So awesome to hear. They're planning on expanding the C-store. The C-store is like a convenience store downstairs and kind of mix between Tyler's and Sub Connection. They're looking to expand it for gluten-free and vegan options. We're very lacking in that department. They're going to add a whole other column to that area, and they're actually looking for people to taste test those items to make sure they don't taste like crap. Honestly, because that is the possibility of a lot of vegan and vegetarian options or gluten-free options. There's also going to be soup changes in Sub Connection. We're looking at potentially adding another soup option in Sub Connection. And they're doing an allergen, vegan-free friendly soup as well. Again, we'll need a taste tester. So if you're interested in that, I can either collect your names, you can email Julia Grady directly. The ice cream, they were thinking about putting an ice cream machine in Tyler's as well. They don't know how well this will go over. Excuse me, not ice cream machine, just ice cream like bars and stuff. So like Snickers ice cream bars and stuff like that that you would find in a gas station. So you could also ask questions, reach out about that. Waffles and ice cream machine are returning to play. Yes, that was a big, that's actually our vice president himself, really doing the work there. Congratulations. Bike booths are way too low. I brought up this concern. This is one that I have had a huge problem with. They're extremely low and the tables are high. It's the most uncomfortable seating for dining that I've ever had. And it just doesn't make it a pleasant experience. So I'd like to see those hopefully change, and I brought that up. So hopefully we can see some changes in that regard. And then finally, some pricing in the C-store needs to be reevaluated. Luke Mahonic brought that up during our meeting. He also attends. And he noticed that there were several items that are way too overpriced. Also, they're going to be working on pricing just in general. That's been a problem down in that area for a long time. People don't know how much items are for buying it until they get up to the register and they've already got it scanned. So we will be meeting again in 3 weeks. This is an open committee. So if you're wanting to come, you can reach out to myself or you can reach out to Julia Brady. She will send you the Zoom link. We are going to be probably meeting on Zoom for the foreseeable future. And hopefully meeting a little more consistently next year as well. That's the end of the food committee report. If you have questions, you can raise your hand. Yes.
Go ahead.
I would just like to advocate that the food in Pfeiffer is 10 times better than it has been in the last 2.5 years that I've been a student at City College. So if it's like the previous knowledge of how the food was that it is potentially dissuading students from eating in Pfeiffer, I would just like to vouch. They flavor their food. Lunch today was absolutely exquisite, I think is the proper word to use. So highly recommend. I have not been for breakfast, and that's because your girl does not wake up until 5 minutes before her class every day. But lunch, smack. Dinner, smack. Salad bar, don't eat salad, but it looks pretty good. So like, the yogurt, so good. So just please go eat at Pfeiffer. And also like, I cannot stress this enough. It is buffet now, self-serve. It is one board, you get all you can eat. So like, utilize it. We're broke college kids, and if you're using all of your boards and flex at Sub Connection, like I spent like $30 at Sub Connection versus $7 at Viper. So like, hello, self-explanatory. Please, like, come on, we're broke. Like, let's fix it. Thank you.
Go on. I'll go ahead, Tim.
Can you tell them to maybe change their lunch hours a little bit? Because for a busy little lady like me, I don't have time to eat anyways. I don't really like eating, but then my roommates make me, and then Five sounds good. But then they're not giving food anymore, and then I don't eat for 2 days. So I think that they should. I have an eating disorder. Okay. Can they extend their arms a little bit? That was my question.
So are you talking specifically on Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Which hours? Because we have talked about it during the food committee. Obviously, the class gets done at 12:15 and like fight closes at 1:15. So there's a very small window on Tuesday, Thursdays that those 12:50 classes can actually get lunch at like a normal time besides like 11 o'clock in the morning, which is not even open for. So we talked about lunch changes, and I think they'd be more receptive to that, especially since they have really low numbers of lunch. So we can bring it up for next week. Thank you.
So we obviously know what the most busiest times in camp are, and they're usually like 12 to 2. Why aren't they open the time where Kent is busiest and people are wanting food? They're like not open at that time, but that's when students eat.
I think they are open at that time, but it is like a somewhat restricted time zone compared to Kent, which is like all the time. So we can talk to them about hour changes. Again, like I said, I think they'd be more receptive. Receptive, thank you. So yeah.
I want to piggyback off of what Corey said. The head chef actually had the idea of creating the yogurt bar Julia Craigie said that they're going through about 70 to 80 pounds a day or something. That's what she said. So keep rocking it.
It's so good.
Any other questions or comments?
You also have applesauce all the time.
Go ahead, Mike.
I would vouch for 5-2. I had lunch today as well. It was very good. Barbecue chicken was very good. I just wanted to say my little plug for sustainability. Fiber's great and it's like meat. However, make sure that when you do eat a fiber, take what you want first. So you eat what you have instead of throwing a bunch of stuff away. We've seen lots of people that take like one bite out of hamburger. It's really disappointing for me as a sustainability club, but also I feel like it's a lot of many ways to college, both producing food as well as trash. So that's just my opinion.
I can bring that up at food committee and talk about some sustainability concerns. See what I do not believe they do that anymore, unfortunately. I think that program quit.
They stopped that last year sometime.
Would you like a
It was
motion?
stopped before COVID.
Yeah, repeat the question, please.
Why is Five no longer donating to the food pantry? They said it stopped last year. So whatever, that needs to be solved. They're just throwing away food, especially if no one's going. Well, no, I'm saying if no one's going during lunch and you have all this leftover, they're just throwing it away. Oh, I'm fucking angry now.
We can bring that up at food committee. I didn't make this decision.
Go ahead, Trey.
The reason they're doing that is because that was some, like a student's like project requested service in their work. Once they received this like, scholarship, that's graduated, and that's the no one. I can also add, I believe Chad Tim, one of our professors in education, he was the one who headed that. And what I got from it in my sustainability realm on figuring that out is Pfeiffer realized how much food they were throwing away and they constricted, they more efficiently created food. So there was no longer leftover food that could be given to shelters. So that's why it stopped. They became more efficient. So when I was talking about throwing away food, that's stuff that students have already put on their plates and like consumed, so they can't donate that, obviously.
Like if we're having a problem with people going to fight, that means they're making food that people aren't eating, and then that's getting thrown away. If there's like the issue is it's for the food, there is not enough people going to fight that. So like if they're being more efficient and they're not throwing away, that's great. But if their issue is people aren't going and there's no policy, that means they throw away, that's not.
I will bring all of those concerns to food committee in the next 3 weeks. I can even reach out to Julia Brady and potentially get a response next week.
All right, any last questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move onto item number 5, old business. Looks like we have budget requests. Go ahead, Elliot.
So no need to motion or anything. I'm just going to give you a quick update. During FAC, we met today with International Student Organization, and we in committee allocated them $230.26. They're putting together packages for Holy for the Spring Festival tradition. They're going to be cabling and handing that out. They're also purchasing flags for their senior members and going to personalize them and give them as a gift. So we approved that via per section 7, subsection B of the SGA finance.
Questions or comments for Elliot? Go ahead, Corey.
ISO.
All right, we will now move on to item number 6, new business. There's no new business. What'd you say?
You have to nominate EPCC.
That's in general discussion.
Should that be the very last thing?
Yeah, that probably makes the most sense. Is there, so we have to like have a conversation.
It's in
right, so we will now move on to item number 7, general discussion. We have DART bus system. Go ahead, Jorge.
So I briefly talked about this in exec, but any industry talk back to me again. So just that way this goes out to in the minutes. If there's a large interest for the DART system, it's a busing system from here in Des Moines. Reach out. If not, it's not worth our money. But I want to send out a poll just to like pilot the polling system for all students to see how people get back and whatnot. So we'll talk to you about it. Yes. And then on to the other things. With regards to Dean Wool's email, how do you want to approach? Any thoughts, suggestions, comments? Go ahead, guys.
Oh, duh. Hello. It kind of hurt my feelings, and I'm sure it hurt a lot of the other feelings of students on campus, just because, like, yeah, we know that you didn't give us a spring break, and we know what the expectations are. And obviously, we're listening to whatever the heck you have to say to us, because where are the COVID cases in the past 2 weeks? Non-existent. But our mental health was plummeting, and it was like really backhanded. And I thought like his approach was very dismissive of how students are feeling on campus about not receiving a break, because I'm going to speak for all of us. We're all tired. And I'm pretty sure the majority of us are burnt the heck out. So that email, I feel like it was wrote in a very passive aggressive tone. And I did not appreciate it. I know quite a few people went to Twitter and other forms of social media to essentially criticize that letter that we received. Also in reference to when Texas beaches and Florida beaches open up, they have been open the whole pandemic. So there's nothing about when they open. So fact check next time, sir, before you write an email to the entire student body. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Gazi.
In reference to this, as an SGA, should we also talk about the boycott that the students are gonna do for classes? Yeah, Tatum did put it in the group chat, and I feel like it's something we should at least address, because if you haven't seen that tweet, it has a lot of likes. Yeah. I think I saw it on the first day, and it had like 24, and then 24 hours later, it had over 100. So, tweet movement.
First of all, go ahead, Drake.
First of all, I'd like to thank John Bull for the Instagram caption. The second thing I would like to talk about is just this plan boycott of classes, and I think it just goes to show how fed up students are with current leadership at this campus. The fact that these 3-day weekends weren't enough time for students to actually get a break. It's time for students to catch up, and then the homework just begins to get. And then the third thing I would like to say is there are a lot of great professors at something college who also disagree with John Bull's email and who want to fight for the mental health of our students. So if you are struggling in class, I would please ask you to reach out to your professor, email them, and ask for extensions, because the majority of this time they will grant it. Simpson College is great with its professors, and so that's all I have to say.
Scotty, did you have a response to it? Go ahead, Elliot.
So I brought this idea up at exec, and I was pretty fired up about it. And I'm still pissed off about it, but I'm starting to go down. Really, what I am is disappointed, and that really lies mostly with the PR department at Simpson. I know that they are the people that actually wrote this email, or at least were consulted regarding this email. And this is just the latest in a long line of missteps by the PR department this semester, last semester. That just make an email that did not have to be a salt in the wound email, like it was not needed. It was passive aggressive, unnecessary, and unprofessional. Really, I was really disappointed with that. So I just want to let all the Simpson students that potentially would be listening to this know that SGA will try to advocate for you you against, specifically the PR department that wrote this email, as well as any other administrators at their college that think that this is an appropriate way to talk to students, like the 5-year-olds. So that's really all I've got to say.
In response to what Elliot said, exec did have a discussion about this, and we thought that inviting Dean Wool in person to an SGA meeting would be the best option. Is that a agreement? He's on Zoom. Go ahead. Scott, or Tatum?
I just wanted to echo something that Drake said, that like, we don't really get into mental health days from the college, mental health days, and the other one's in April. Oh yeah, we we're gonna have that off anyways for Easter, but also I would just like to say that like, when we have mental health days, someone needs to tell the professors that they're mental health days. Cause my last one, I just got bombarded with like homework that I shouldn't have had. It was a 3-day weekend, not a week off, and I had to write like 4 different papers that were like over 10 pages. And like, kind of ridiculous that if I'm granted a mental health day, you just give me more work. So I swear to God, on this next mental health day, I'm given homework. No professor is receiving anything because they're mental health days. And I would suggest everybody else do that too, because fuck that.
Go ahead, Tatum.
Okay, so going back to the tweet that we were talking about, you know, I'm a firm believer in, you know, we are representing the student body. And let me know how I feel about this. As representative of the student body and as representative of the specific junior class, the junior class was a junior classman who tweeted, said tweet. I fully support the class that I'm representing. And if we are representative of the student body is telling us that they're not going to classes on April 6th, we're not going to classes on April 6th. 7th. I get that we are, you know, pretty naughty on the gut. We're students. First and foremost, we are students. And we're all tired. So, not saying that, well, I can't say that SGA is, I'm not Jorge. But I think that we should seriously, I mean, as class president, juniors, if y'all want to not go to class, I fully support you. If you want me to email a professor for you, let me know. Do it all the time. Speaking of which, if any of y'all need extensions on papers, then you want me to email a professor, let me know. I do it all the time. I'm not even a history major, and I know about history professors is here. So let me know. Okay.
All right. Jorge had a response, so go ahead, Jorge.
If not, the idea of April 7th, is there, I was thinking, merging it with student activities day, not only that, it'd be like emulated of campus day, but instead of for the community or the students. That's just a thought.
Go ahead, Skazi. And
Hold on. My little tidbit, you said that exec had spoken about exec meeting. I think it's a great idea. Actually, I think it's a great idea for anybody who's part of the administration to show up to exec meeting, to show up.
not an exec meeting.
Yeah, sorry. SGA meeting in general, because there, for the longest time, has been an egregious disconnect between the students, the faculty and staff, and the upper administration. And it's pretty ridiculous. And I know, Elliot, you said you were disappointed by what you saw in that email. I'm not, because I had just come to expect the administration to below us. No, this is how it's talked down or in the middle school. How do I know? I roomed with an education major who is currently doing all of the student teaching for middle school and elementary school, and this is the way that you talk down to children who you don't respect on the same level of authority as you do. So since people don't seem to recognize us as having the wherewithal to make educated, prominent decisions about how we like things to be run, I mean, we can pay taxes after all. Let them come and have some conversations with them. I think that's the best way to get to know people and understand them and understand how they, act their sovereignty, how they act their authority. Sit down and have a conversation. So, I welcome you.
Go ahead, Skazi.
I'm against merging a mental health day with anything else that falls, like, that students have to do something else on. Like, I understand that, like, Will and Tatum want to do the students activities day, I think. Will and Frank want to do the students activities day. But like, if that falls on, or we get that day off for class, like, I'm president of 2 clubs and those 2 clubs will not be in attendance, because if I'm given a mental health day, I am taking a day for myself and I'm not doing anything else on it. And like, I know people like Corey agree that we just need, like, if we are given a day, I am doing absolutely nothing and no one is taking any time that I do not want to dedicate to them. And so like, if a mental health day falls on like a students activities day, I no longer get a mental health day because I need to like run 2 different booths during students activities day. So like, I think it's very dangerous, like, and it's really important to keep a mental health day separate from anything else that happens on any other day.
Go ahead, Corey.
I'm just gonna piggyback on that, like, can we stop trying to merge our mental health days into other things? Thank you. Like, Easter is not a mental health day, it's Easter, we get it off every year, so that's what I'm referencing.
Go ahead, Will.
I completely agree with what everyone is saying, and yes, we need another mental health day. Remember, me and Frank have already been talking with the president on trying to get the 14th off school to begin with. So yes, I think you guys can totally still do like April 7th. Remember, I say that, but just a heads up, like, hopefully we can also get the 14th off. I just wanted to put that.
All right, we'll now move on to the next item of general discussion. Go ahead, Tatum.
I'm not sure who wrote it in the agenda. Yeah, you could. Or I can just-
It was
Someone sent a comment?
It was like a comment that was sent to us, sent to us, and it was like, with regards to, that was just the first statement, but there is, I'll do it.
All right, so, like I said last week, waiting on an email, secretary. Haven't gotten back. Honestly, being really irritated, but I also understand, you know, they're doing a lot of things right now, and, you know, I don't know how both sides are going. So, basically, I'm just gonna try to keep bothering them until I get a response, because it's been a super long time, and like, I'm trying. I mean, I talk about it every week in SOC. Like, I've literally been waiting for a fucking response for 2 weeks now. I'm emailing them every week because I don't want to email them any more than that, because then it just gets like, if I was the person, I'd be like, okay, I fucking get it. I'm gonna get to when I can get to you. Please calm down. So that's why I'm trying not to be like jumping the gun type thing. Yes.
Do you have Isaiah and Opposite's information? Have you tried?
No, that's what I'm emailing. And then he just told the secretary to like make a time. And
Yes.
homegirl vanished. I don't know where she at. I don't even know if the secretary is real, to be completely honest. Okay.
Okay,
I'll make
I was
you
just
know
saying,
before
I
time.
was just saying, he's, I think, an alum and a DOT member, so.
Yeah, he's their chief director. He's their like CEO. But yeah, he's my main contact. So I've been communicating with him to get to the secretary, which is people. Never.
You might wanna, since what you're talking about was in the minutes, the people who may watch the screen don't know what you're talking about, you might wanna let people know what they were just talking about.
Like, just read it?
I can
It
just
doesn't
explain it a
matter,
little bit.
if Tatum wanna explain it, that's fine.
So I'll just do it a lot quicker. So last semester, I talked about when everything was going on, with, you know, like first I saw that Jeff was going on. I was like, hey, we're pushing for staff and faculty to be trained. Same should go for students. We have to go through the Title IX training when we get here, so that's all training, all of those fun little videos y'all did when you were freshmen. We all remember those. So I was like, this should be a thing for, you know, student organizations. It has to be a class president. I have the authority to make things mandatory. So I started that ball rolling generally late in the semester. Started talking about it early in the semester, but didn't really get the ball rolling until mid-semester. Had a few meetings with Isaiah where we talk about, I mean, we know what we're doing, like we have the program mapped out, we just need to figure out a date that works for them and the students. So that's what I'm talking about, is the training that's going on. It'll be mandatory. And just to reiterate, it's been a minute, if you do not go to said training, I will pull all of your money from your budget. you will no longer have a budget to work with. Because I can make that decision, and you were Casey last time I cleared this, but I'm not changing that, so I hope everybody agrees, because I'm not changing that idea. So if you're not gonna do a training to betterment the students, you should do anything to betterment the students anyways. So you disagree with me? Sorry, I'm not changing my mind. That's it.
Or Tracy Avon is actually here, she just joined, so can we get a motion in a second to suspend the rules so she can discuss the changes in
Motion to suspend the rules.
the funding? Or you, sorry, go ahead, Elliot.
We wouldn't have to suspend the rules because we suspend the rules to general discussion at the beginning. We're currently in general discussion when she came to the meeting, so I'm just beginning to talk right now.
All right, so Tracy, you can go ahead and start whenever you'd like. It is about the HERP, I believe is the.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tracy, sorry.
Sure, that's okay. So I'm just kind of giving you a little update on some of the coronavirus funds that we've been receiving. So, you know, Simpson received last spring here for one, which you all probably heard referred to as CARES. And in the CARES application, we opened an application up to students, and we funded those applications until funds were depleted, which actually took us a lot longer than we thought. That was roughly $726,000. The second round, HERF 2, Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds, is what HERF stands for. HERF 2 is referred to as CRSA, which is Coronavirus Response Supplemental Appropriations Act, and I forgot one of the R's. But anyway, another $726,000. This round of HERF was delivered different from the federal government. They demanded that we consider students with highest need first. They did not go on to tell us how to define that, but we determined at Simpson that if you were a Pell Grant recipient and you were otherwise eligible for HERF funds, which right now they're saying you just have to be an eligible FAFSA filer, that you meet all of the qualifications for Title IV aid. If you have a Pell Grant, we pushed to you in the form of a block grant, 30% of your Pell value. So students, the least amount anyone got was $500. The most amount was $1,904, depending on your Pell Grant. Those funds were pushed to students via check, unless they told us that they wanted it to hit their student account. They had to give us written permission to hit their student account. So we offered that option through SC Connect. You could say, yep, hit my student account, or no, just give me a check. If a student didn't tell us to do either, we issued a check because that's what we were required to do. We did save roughly $156,000 back of HERF 2, which is also, again, the source of funds. And tomorrow we will be sending an application to all students with, when you do your FAFSA, we get an expected family contribution. It's called the EFC. So with an EFC of $15,000 or below, we will push the application for the last $156,000, and students will be able to apply. It will be awarded again, first come, first served, until funds are depleted. That will go out tomorrow. The application is ready. It is on SC Connect. This particular fund is a little different than CARES, in that you can use the fund to help you pay your bill if you want to. You can use it for anything that's related to your cost of attendance at school. Okay. I came actually because you guys asked me to come and report on this a little bit. I do want to tell you there is a third round of funds that are coming, and we know very, very little about it, but we know that it is the largest portion. It is called ARP, and it is the American Rescue Plan is what it's called. And so that will be here for 3. This bunch of funding is $3.1 million. So it is by far the most amount of money we've received, half for students and half for the college to recover lost expenses and revenue that we've had. As an example, last year when we refunded room and board, we can actually reimburse ourselves for some of those types of things to help offset our budget. So that is what I can tell you. I do have one question for you all. I want to put something in the subject line for that HERF grant that students will understand and open. I don't think they're going to understand HERF grant, and I don't think they're going to understand SRSA grant. Do you guys have any suggestions on that? I was thinking maybe something related to COVID.
It looks like Tatum Claiborne has a response for you.
Hello, Tracy. I'm a college student, and if I saw an email that said free money from the government, I would be like, hell yeah, I can get free money from the government to pay for the schooling that I'm currently doing. And, college students, when anything's free in the subject line, we always read that email. At least I would assume that you all read emails with free stuff in the subject.
Okay, so free money from the government, we could certainly consider that. The email will come from the financial aid office, so it shouldn't be spam. And we are only sending it to students who are eligible. So if the student already got the full $1,904 from their SRSA grant that we already did, they won't get an application because we as an institution have capped it at the $1,904 so that we can try to spread it around a little. So that I like that. I can do that.
Go ahead, Drake.
So students who have the expected EFC above 15,000 cannot apply for this round of funding.
Right. They won't be able to apply for this one. Like I said, what is different about HERF 2 than HERF 1 is that the government has said we have to consider students with exceptional need. So all colleges are interpreting that differently. I can tell you what Drake did just because somebody that I work with's daughter attends there. So they did not offer students the opportunity to apply. They just gave everybody with a 15,000 and below EFC a block grant. We decided that it seemed that we should probably address the terminology was extreme financial need, which definitely, I've been doing this 30 years to me as Pell Grant recipient. So we decided to do that first, and then the second portion with a grant application, pardon me.
And I appreciate everything you've been doing again, the finance aids office's work on this. The only thing maybe next time for the next round of funding is the problem that EFC, I think FAFSA is a messed up system because it assumes your parents have those funds available to give you to your college education. So maybe taking into consideration students who, yes, may have a higher than $15,000 on that FAFSA, but are not getting money from their parents to pay for their college.
Can someone, I can't hear anything. Can someone help me?
Drake, talk with it close to your face.
So students who have a higher than $15,000 EFC, yes, we understand those below need the most of financial aid, but even those above that don't actually receive funding from their parents to go to college, and because their parents don't have the ability to pay for that, those funds go elsewhere. So, maybe take into consideration next time students who don't get funds from their parents to pay for their college, and for students who have to pay for their college on their own, despite that EFC number.
I think I heard what you're saying. How would I know that?
And that's why I think the first round of COVID, where you applied and you gave a bill or something that you had to pay for yourself, that's where you can see the students who need those funds as well.
So I hear what you're saying. I just want to make sure that you understand in this round, the federal government told us what we have to do, and the federal government does not let us look at a student without their parents' income. That is not allowable. So I understand what you're saying. But it's not doable with extreme financial need. I have a feeling that round 3 is going to be tied to financial need as well. But I don't know that yet. We're waiting for more guidance. But we will certainly keep, our ears open to everything, applications, and all of it, depending on what the government tells us we can do.
All right, go ahead, Scotty.
I was just gonna suggest that you put CARES Act number 2, since it's technically not the CARES Act, but everyone knows what the CARES Act was already for, so it'd at least be something that like they saw in the subject line and was like, oh, hey, another CARES Act, that's dope. And even though the application might not be the exact same, it would still be like, all students would see that subject line and be like, oh, hey, I know exactly what this is.
Can I ask you this? We have we have to be really careful with the naming conventions because of what they give us. What if we said free money from the government COVID relief? You would all kind of know that as well as CARES Act because they've named this something different than CARES.
Yeah, I think we would. I just suggested CARES Act. I know it's not the same thing, just that name would be recognizable to almost everyone because I feel like a lot of people use the CARES Act application, so they would at least know what that was. That's why I suggested that.
Yeah, I hear you. Actually, we talked about that in the office today, that we wish we could just kind of use CARES. The government's a little funny with that, but I think at least we could put some COVID relief in there too, maybe. And maybe we could put in parentheses, perhaps better known as CARES Act 2 to students or something. I don't know.
Yeah, in the first paragraph, maybe similar to CARES Act.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead, Scott.
Just a point of personal privilege, I need to go to an SGA training.
All right, do you have any other questions or comments for Tracy?
Thank you for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, thank you on behalf
You're
of
welcome.
Yeah, that clears up a lot of information.
Great. As soon as we know more on 3, I'll be happy to keep you posted again. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, we will go back to general discussion. I believe we were on constitution revision.
So this was just a suggestion that I just thought about, that if we put it within the Constitution or make it mandatory, because I mean we are revisiting the Constitution, rather than that being like, in order to register an organization, say it's on a semester basis, they have to be done like leadership. Just thought maybe we could bring this from the Constitution Revision Committee back to SGA, but just if you guys have anything, reach out to the Constitution Revision Committee to talk about this. Thank you. Elliot is the chair of the Constitution Revision Committee.
Yeah, I had an additional question to ask you about that. So we're already writing a constitution revision regarding the exact mandating events. Are you suggesting that in addition to that, we also put a section in the Constitution under some item, I'm not even quite sure, which would say if you are registering an organization, if you have not gone through the mandatory bias training, diversity, equity, inclusion training, I don't know what we're calling it, then they cannot get funding. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm open for suggestions. I think that would be a good idea, to be honest, but I'm open to hear what you guys else have to say.
Go ahead, Ms. Gazi.
Presuming that the training is going to happen every year, I don't think it's going to happen more than once a year. Like I doubt that it happens every semester. Bias training. Yeah, so Tatum said once a year. I think it's unfair to say that there is only like at one point in which clubs can register, because if you miss that bias training date, then you just can't do anything. So I think it should be that like if you register the club, you have to go to the next bias training that is available, and if you don't, then you stop receiving funding. Not that just until you do the bias training, you can't get funding at all, because there would be organizations who'd have to wait a whole like 8 months before they're able to do anything.
So a suggestion on my behalf would maybe be, if they're in that weird time frame, maybe take advantage of the recording and like require them to watch the recording. Rich, maybe is that a good idea, or Tatum, whoever.
I just think watching a recording of bias training versus being actually engaged in a bias training is very different. I would rather like you get funding But if you do not go to, like, let's say it happens every, like, March or every April or whatever month, like, you would just have to be at that one, and if you're not, you stop receiving funding after that.
I guess I have another question. If the president isn't able to attend, like whatsoever, if they have a conflict that overlaps, that's just with the VP or something, if we're gonna make a suggestion to the revision, there does need to be something.
Well, I would suggest that, like, you make that date and you make sure you're available. Like, I mean, it's not that hard to plan ahead. We're, hold on. Are we talking about, like, the training that I was talking about earlier, or?
I think that's what we're talking about right now, yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, so technically, I can only make things mandatory for organizational spots that are mandated by the college. So for example, every group has to have a president and a vice president. Most groups have to have a treasurer. I think those are the only 3 positions that we explicitly list on our like registration for an organization that you need to have. So technically those are the only 3 people that I can be like, I'm making, if a treasurer is applying to the only 3 people that I can be like, yes. But when we were having like the large group meetings with all the leaders last semester, I asked them for their input, and all of them, because I was like, I want all of you guys to go to this, and then all of the presidents who were at those meetings will test for this. They were like, if it's an expectation for us, it's an expectation for all the people who are execs of this committee. And so that's when I pushed out, and I was like, okay, so if you guys are saying that you guys will do this, if you do not do this, when you guys, so I'm not so like, let's say, I don't know, fencing club, they're right here. So I'm a fencing club, right? Boom, swords, great time. Let's say Jorge is like, I don't want to go to this training. Jorge's hypothetically the president. And I'm like, oh, I see that this group didn't go to their training. So they have $800 in their budget right now. They can keep that $800, but until every single executive member of your committee has gone to an in-person training, you're not able to request any more money. And like, I don't like the idea of bias trainings. Like, I can watch the video. No, that's not a training. You're just watching a video from YouTube. If I wanted to do that, I would have just sent you a YouTube
Language, please.
I would have sent you a YouTube link. Sorry, Richard. I would have just sent you a YouTube link to watch. And if I had to do recordings, it would be one of those ones where I would be petty and I would make you take a test afterwards. You would have to fill something out telling me what you learned. And if I feel like you didn't learn enough, I might be like, hey, you have a quick little Zoom call. Talk about it, what you learned. That's what I would personally want to do. Jordan, can I say the first year?
Yeah, okay. I have a question, and I don't know how any of this works with planning or whatnot, so please let me know. But, like, let's say if it's a conflict with, like, let's say the president of the club can't make it to the meeting on like a certain time. Could you do it? Can it work if, like, let's say they can only be available for 1 day or like 2
We're
days?
not doing one training.
Oh, so it's multiple training.
Yeah, so last semester when I first brought this up, I told you if you're doing 4 separate training sessions because it would be completely unfeasible to have 200+ students have the same 2 hours free. That's just unfeasible. So when I was talking to Isaiah, we have 4 dates set up. We just haven't approved those dates yet because I haven't met with them. So that's what I'm talking about. Like we have, because we talked about 4 different times. You just need to go to one of them.
Okay, wonderful. That answers my question.
I should have made that clearer. I apologize. I just assume all of the knowledge that's in here, you all also know, which is not the case.
I'm burnt out. So.
There's yeah, now the whole campus knows, but I shouldn't have assumed that you guys just remembered that from last semester. I'm really sorry. It might just be that me and Tate have had multiple discussions about this, so I just assumed we had talked about it in SGA before, and everyone else already knew that as well.
No, you go first.
Did that clear up the remainder? Did that clear up the last? Okay, I could have just done that earlier. I'm sorry, guys. Okay.
The other piece that I would probably throw in there so that you guys can think about it too is that to have as an additional option for other members of clubs or organizations is for this group to find some sort of online training format. Because I agree with you that the videos, they're pointless. You can do all the Zoom stuff you want to, and it's going to go out the window. People are going to do what they do and say that they watched it. But if there's some sort of online training that we can find that as a community we're comfortable with and we're happy with, have it that requires some sort of a testing piece that goes with it, that the people who do it, you're required to pass with an 85% understanding of the concepts and things that we're talking about. That's just another option I think to think of. I know that there are places out there that do it. They're sometimes pricey, but that might be an additional option to this. But I agree that having the presidents and the leadership in the organization go to an in-person training is with four available is not that difficult.
Awesome, thank you. All right, question, go ahead, Elliot.
Yeah, sorry, just to recap then. So when constitution provision does mean we're going to have that in our agenda. I've got those written down on notes, so we'll talk about it. And then we'll probably have an additional debate when we actually bring those comment or those provisions to resident SGA to vote on.
Item number two, part two of that is add link that is required when registering. Right. DEI updates. Go ahead, Scott.
So if y'all remember, like a month ago, I had me, Tata, Parisia, Dylan, a whole bunch of people had a meeting with President Kelleher and Heidi Lamar. And one thing that I said in that meeting was that if DEI updates are not happening consistently and do not have substance, that meant this college did not care. And that was just going to be my final decision. And I was going to make it very clear to this full campus that this college does not care about DEI things. If you haven't noticed, they send out a DEI update like once every 2 weeks. And those DEI updates are usually the exact same thing that they sent the week before, or just some random thing that has nothing to do with anything. And I am becoming increasingly frustrated that they either are not there, or that they are the same used thing that they sent for like 4 days in a row. So I am sick and tired of talking to administration about the exact same thing over and over and over again. So I put this in general discussion just because I would like Elliot, or not Elliot, I don't know why I said Elliot, Jason Hormag to now take this conversation, and you guys can talk to administration, because me, Tata, Parisia, Taylor are done having the exact same conversation every other month. And in my eyes, the college doesn't care. I don't care that they're doing, BPDI, we're getting this position. That's fantastic, but that still doesn't mean you care, because I told you you had to do one thing to show me that you care, and you can't even do that. So it is now on y'all, because every other one of us is finished.
Okay, so is this to President Kelleher, Jesse, with like in our general meetings with her?
You can bring it up to literally whoever you want. I would love to hear what happens about it, but I'm no longer wasting my energy on it. You can talk to Kathy Cole, she's the one that writes the campus, or like does the campus pulse. You can talk to President Kelleher. I've had multiple discussions. You can talk to Heidi Levine, I've had multiple discussions with her, but they don't care, so I'm done wasting my energy.
Go ahead, Elliot.
Going back to PR problems again, because it sounds like this is wrapping around on PR problems again. Obviously not the root cause, but I think that it's probably stemmed from it, so.
I mean, I don't want to blame this on the PR team, because if no one tells them anything to put there, then they can't put anything there. So ultimately, it is above them. Like Kathy, who does the campus pulse, like she can only put in the campus pulse what she is given to put in the campus pulse. So if she's given nothing and the administration gives her nothing, or just tells her to put the exact same thing she's put in for the last like 4 days in, that's what she has to do. So I don't think it's a PR problem. I wouldn't blame it on them.
Whether it be above or below them, I just want to throw out that I've had 2 PR interviews today, both a job and an internship, and they're in need. And they are in need of some fresh blood in there to get those gears turning. I am available. Let me know after me.
Now move on to item number 8, announcements.
SGA, elections are coming up for next academic year. The dates are to be determined, but they will be here soon. Just that way, you guys start thinking about it. If you want to rerun, know anyone that should be running, could be running, and would like to run. Yes. And then the second one is Brianne asked, this is a quote from Elise's email. So Brianne asked if I could send out another doodle poll to get a sense of when you'd be available to me next week. This is with regards to the counseling, so there's a doodle poll. Go ahead.
If you don't know, that's in reference to the moving forward counseling that the college is doing. We're having group sessions for minority students. You don't have to be Black, you can be any minority, gender or sexual minority included as well. We had one on Monday and we had some really good conversation, and I think it was really beneficial for everyone who went. Tatum, you had your hand up, but if you were scared to go on Monday and you didn't want to go, it's really just like a cool time to hang out with people and talk about your experience here and have like a commonality among students that you don't find often, because you know we are minorities for a reason, because there are few of us. But it was a nice space just to talk and have a good conversation with people who experienced a lot of the same things you do. So I would highly suggest you go. Even if you're scared, you don't have to talk. You can just sit there and listen. It's also just good to listen to other people so you know that you're not alone in the way you feel, even if you're not comfortable talking. But I would really suggest that if you're thinking about going, to at least just try it.
Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, so I have 2 quick things. So the first one, I put in the minutes, Jerome Kennison, he is coming to Simpson on March 30th, 31st, 12:45. Basically, he works with classic people, and Black Lives Matter. Basically, just a well-rounded, phenomenal African-American man that's done phenomenal things for his community. I know a lot of classes are making this lecture mandatory and offering it as extra credit. So check with your professors and get some great extra credit points. And then the other thing, if you didn't know, I just became the president of Pride. Super exciting. Okay, so graduation's coming up for all you seniors. Sorry to see you go, but fine. And when you graduate, you get these cool cords. BSU, you get there's cultural cords that you can get if you donate a lot of blood. You can get a blood cord. Academic cords, dean lists, you get cords. Gay people deserve a cord as well. So there is a wonderful ceremony called the lavender ceremony. If you don't know what it is, I'm going to give you a quick little rundown really quick. Basically, it is a ceremony that college and universities do to kind of acknowledge the work that LGBTQ students have done for the college and for the community during their time in college. Because historically speaking, gay people were not allowed to go to college. And I was wondering, what's the color lavender for? Well, I'm going to tell you because it's actually really cool. During World War II, when concentration camps were a thing, gay men had to wear pink triangles to signify their sexuality, and lesbians had to wear black triangles. So combining the 2 colors, you get a beautiful shade of lavender, so making happiness out of terrible things that happened in the history. So with that being said, if you are a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, sorry allies, you don't get a cord. No offense, I'm not really sorry, you guys are gay. So if you are interested in having a lavender cord, please reach out to me. My students, my email is very self-explanatory. I'm going to meet with our advisor and Heidi, as those are the people that would kind of be doing the ceremony. I'm not sure if I would have to be there because of my spot as the president, but if you want a cord and you are graduating this year, please reach out to me so I can get a cord for you, because you deserve to be acknowledged for graduating college as a gay person, because that is absolutely phenomenal. That was all.
Go ahead, Drake.
I will be moderating the Pod Save the Soul podcast along with you. So, for sure,
Do we have any now? Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey everyone, we're in a pandemic. So, follow CDC guidelines. Stay 6 feet apart when you can. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. Your hands get dirty throughout the day. Please wash them. Use hand sanitizer. Also sanitize any surfaces that might be used by people later on in the day. Thank you.
The only CDC guidelines I recognize are 6 feet, so if you come within 3 feet of me, you're gonna get punched in the throat. So just keep that in mind. We should all be doing 6 feet and not 3 feet, because I don't trust that, and I don't trust your dirty hands. So keep to yourself.
Anything else? All right, Rich is gonna live stream.